comes to the fall of the House of Usher, I'm going to be completely honest, I found it to be quite an interesting watch. Starting with the positives, I was very much hooked by its non-linear way of storytelling, as we learn about the Usher family, starting with the older members, that being Roderick and Madeline, learning about their childhood and how they started off and how they built their empire. That was very much quite a hooking part of the story, but for me the main hooking part was learning about the Usher children, the ones from Roderick, who we learn they kind of don't get along and somewhat despise each other, and some of them even attempt to sabotage one another. Another really interesting thing is just to learn the depravity that each one of them goes into. We see either it being sex or drugs or even worse, and it's interesting to see that their depravity is what it leads up to their eventual downfall. I really love the horror aspect of this show, whether it be the jump scares or the dark and gruesome visuals that we get, especially early on in the series, really adding their impact and revealing what this show has planned for you as it continues on. Not only that, but I think they have some beautiful visuals in certain episodes as well, which did take me by surprise, just looking at how somewhat beautiful they are, even if they do lead up to quite dark visuals to later. It still had a little bit of beauty as well. When it comes to acting, I have to say I found it to be superb, but I was mainly surprised by the performance of Mark Hamill, who, if I'm being truly honest, I've never seen him act in this particular way, being quite a dark character. He's definitely acting very unlike any other character he's played before, but he makes him just as memorable as his previous characters, which I think is quite remarkable from him, especially his age as well, as he has played quite big roles, and so for him to be such a different person, it's quite remarkable. And when it comes to the antagonist character, I was again very much enthralled by their character, as you just want to learn so much about them as to who they are and why are they tormenting the Usher family, and not just the children but the adults as well, and how they connect is really quite interesting. Now when it comes to the final episode, I will have to say it was probably one of the best, as just when you think they've thrown all their punches, they're able to surprise you. And honestly, it was a really dark but great way to end the show, very strong, and I think they tied up any loose ends in a nice little bow and left it on a graveyard. When it comes to criticisms, I actually really only have one, and that would be I felt after episode 2 it became slightly predictable. It's sad to say that, as episode 2 ended on such a great shocking moment, very dark but great, and what becomes in the next 3 episodes is quite predictable, as we know which characters' lives are going to end, as they reveal it very early on in the episode, and it's not that hard to decipher how they actually die. It's kind of predictable by episode 5, and it's a shame that it became quite predictable, but then on episode 5 itself, the way a particular character's life demises, very interesting. It actually surprises you, and then afterwards the show goes into a revamp and it gets back onto form, really becoming quite an enjoyable watch. Overall, I would say it is a really enjoyable watch, as you learn about so much about the Usher family, the depravity that all of them go through, and the horror aspect was interesting. I really was enthralled by the antagonist and why they were doing this to the family and what the family themselves were getting up to. Found that all very enjoyable. Its only weak moment to me is its 3 episode drag. Like there's 3 episodes that kind of felt weak, especially in a row, but afterwards it's really an enjoyable watch. Is this show good? I'd say it really is good. It's very good. Rating wise, I would probably say an 8 out of 10. Would I rewatch this? I'd say possibly. I can see myself watching it in a year or two's time, definitely around the Halloween type of period. Now, when it comes to recommendations, firstly I would start off with Supernatural, as they both share very similar antagonists, while Supernatural has a recurring theme with the antagonist in the TV show for the House of Usher, as that's a type of character that appears in Supernatural quite a lot. Not only do they share the antagonist, but they also share the horror aspect and jump scares to an extent. Next, my recommendation, I only recommend it because of its similar scene, that being from the film Blade. Blade in itself is a great vampire film, not on the horror shock aspect that this show is on, but still worth watching. The scene in question happens very early on in the film Blade, if you know what I mean, and if you've seen this, you definitely know what I mean. And then my last recommendation is the TV show. From a new horror TV show, grotesque visuals, shock value, much like The Fall of the House of Usher, definitely amazing. Those are my recommendations. This has been my review for The Fall of the House of Usher. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe, but most importantly, thank you and have a nice day.